I think for like professional athletes, especially, in order to turn your brain off a little bit, get a little bit of rest, I think nature is the place to go. It's very hard though for like NBA athletes because all the teams are in major cities. Like the smallest city would be like San Antonio's a small market, or Portland, Indiana. Like those are some of the small markets, but most of these guys, they're still in large cities. It's hard to get out in nature. Their schedule is so that they're traveling so much, and they're trying to get rest that it's hard. But I think it's very important for people to get out in nature, kind of turn your brain off from, my bills, my car, my job, my family, all that, and get out alone. I know of a Zen priest in Olympia, Washington. He hasn't worn anything on his feet since before 2010. I don't know exactly, and it gets quite cold in Washington. They get a little bit of snow, but he's never worn shoes as long as I've known him. And that's part of his practice. He wants to be more connected to the earth. And so I totally, for myself, believe that. I know if I walk out in nature, if I have something on my mind, when I leave that park, that area, that beach, that mountain, I feel a little bit cooled out, And I think calming the mind is something that, especially as Americans, we don't, in my humble opinion, we don't do enough. We have so much in our daily lives that a lot of people don't move the body, calm the mind, as they say. We don't exercise, we don't meditate, and we don't get out in nature as much as we probably should. Just my opinion, but it's not like 100 years ago where you grew up in nature, or maybe more than 100 years ago. Now, most people are moving to cities, and like me, you have to go to a park to find nature. So, but I talk about that a little bit. Anytime I talk to athletes, they ask me about, my Zen and Buddhism and Theravada training and all that. They're curious about it, and a lot of times I'll just say, "Hey, go take a walk in nature. Go take a walk on the beach," and I'm like, "Okay." So, but I think that should be part of people's practice, getting into nature.
So one of the things that I wrote the book about raising child athletes about is because when I released the book about athletes that are becoming sedentary, which my research says it's about 90% that become sedentary, about 10% continue with daily physical activity after their high performance years are over. And when I was reaching out with some sort of a mission to bring awareness to that, a parent of two people who were in their 20s said, "Look, I just got done with child athletes," and she said, "Why don't you start with the fruit that's still on the tree? Why don't you talk to the coaches and the parents about raising child athletes so that right from the start they know about wellness, they know about balance, they know about rest, they know about joy and movement." That's wonderful. Recreation, yoga, ping pong, whatever it is that's not this hardcore training and this mystique that more is more. We've always got to do more. We've always got to advance. I was thinking about my background with free weights and machines, and I said, the books that I read kept talking about increasing the weight every so often. When your reps get higher than 12 or 14, now you're going to increase the weight. Well, at some point, you're going to reach an amount of weight that's a sustainable amount of weight for your time schedule and your aging body. So if you're going to go from age 25 to 32, you're not going to keep increasing the weight and keep pushing those limits. So there's no reason to do that. So my first website back in 2008 was maintenanceworkout.com. And I thought that the whole idea of this transformational fitness, getting ripped quick, and weight loss fitness, it was oversold because what happens once you get into shape? Are you still going to be doing this high intensity workout that you use to lose pounds and get these ripped abs as you're aging? It doesn't make any sense. But the market, in my opinion, is still oversold in that direction. So maybe you can share with me about this idea of athletes stepping out into becoming, more and more, like, 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 more and more, super parents or couch potatoes or hard workers in their new business and not taking care of themselves. So that's one thing I'd love to hear your point of view on. And then the idea of maintenance on the physical side.
Yeah, I the word kept popping in my mind about balance. In Buddhism, they say the middle way, right? So as far as things like weightlifting and intense training and stuff, you can't continue to engage in intensive training without something happening. Like your body, something's going to happen. Your body's going to say that's enough. And I think everyone's a little different, but I think we all need to find that balance and talk about mind body, but also like say just physically, you have to find a balance. I like to lift weights, and I know when I get to a certain point, like I kind of know where my balance is because I've been doing it for a long time. It's like, okay, I kind of feel like I know where I need to be. If you look at the athletes, um, if you go to YouTube or whatever, and some of these athletes, and they have these incredibly cut abs, right? For example, well, that's because they got themselves down to like 3% body fat, and you can't maintain that for, oh, your body's gonna, hit back at you and say, no, you need to eat right now. You're gonna get sick. You got, whatever. So I think it's